Over the last number of years, the Green Party has been a great supporter of both the marriage equality project and around the issue of children's rights and entitlements. As a member of government, obviously has recently seen through the Civil Partnership Act, which we discussed this morning. And while it brings many significant opportunities, we have had the conversation about it not being full equality, and there is agreement on that. So we're moving forward, I think, into a positive and a continued working relationship with the Minister and with the current government. And I'd like to ask you to welcome him here today. And I want to, as I say, formally thank him for giving us the time. And I know he's extremely busy. So, Ciaran, you're very, very welcome.
Quite emotional about this. I'm very honoured at being asked to launch this report, and I think I'm very privileged to hear the voices that feed through the document, the report that we're launching this morning. It's great to have a coloured copy of the report compared to the black and white version I've had for the last few days. You might wonder, why am I launching it as Minister for Horticulture, Sustainable Transport and Planning, but I was, as some of you know, I was my party's spokesperson for justice for many years, and it's only recently I stepped down from that when I took over the new position as a Minister of State. And I'm very proud of my party's policy on marriage, on equality, and I guess the achievements of the Civil Partnership Act show you that what you can achieve in government is a journey. It's not an end destination, and I think the progress is certainly going in the right direction on this journey. And I know I've had my own disagreements with marriage equality on what the Civil Partnership Bill can and cannot achieve. I think it's really important to remember we're on the same side of the debate in trying to advance rights and promote equality for gay and lesbian couples and indeed their children. I'd also like to mention the researchers of the report, and most importantly the children of gay couples who spoke so openly and honestly about your own experiences. Before I make a few comments about the report, I just want to touch briefly on the Civil Partnership Act itself and the issue of children in Irish law before I talk about the report. I fully acknowledge that civil partnerships do not represent full marriage equality, and both my party and I fully support gay marriage, and we'll continue to work to make this a reality. But it is my view that civil partnerships are significant progress on the road to full equality, and that will provide many practical benefits for gay and lesbian couples. Civil partnerships will create rights, responsibilities, safeguards and obligations for same-sex couples in a loving relationship where there were none before now. And these are significant, substantial changes that will make a real difference. I don't subscribe to the view that civil partnerships will move gay marriage off the agenda. I think that they will help in achieving the goal of same-sex marriage as they become a normal feature of Irish life and society. We move that bit further down the road to full equality, I really think we do. And I was heartened during the course of the debate in the Oireachtas to see such widespread support for civil partnership, and I think building on that goodwill in moving towards gay marriage will be the next goal. I certainly think, and we spoke on the way in about journeys and about milestones on that journey, and I think it's heartening that you've had a discussion already this morning on looking at other European countries in particular and how they are moving on that journey as well, because I suspect we can't look at any particular country and say that they've solved all the challenges that family life represents in the 21st century. I know from reading the Voices of Children report that it's quite critical of the absence of provisions relating to children of same-sex couples, and I know that this issue has been raised by the Ombudsman for Children in her submission on the Civil Partnership Bill, and I accept the point that there is a gap in our body of legislation on the creation of rights for children of same-sex couples. It's not a simple issue, however. There are many instances across the spectrum of family law where such anomalies exist, affecting, for example, step families and indeed cohabiting couples with children. There are significant challenges in addressing the rights of children and those who care for them, be it in the context of same-sex couples or other family units. In the next few months, the Law Reform Commission will make proposals in regard to some aspects, to legal aspects of family law, which will outline the type of issues that need to be addressed. And this will be considered by government, and I hope many of the issues can be addressed there. Secondly, a lot of the difficulty in what the Civil Partnership Act could do for children flows from our constitutional interpretation of the family. And let's face it, our constitutional definition of the family is quite fossilised. Irish law, as you are all aware, does not currently recognise same-sex families. In fact, it only recognises the family based on marriage. And God knows, I spent 5 years on the Oireachtas All-Party Committee on the Constitution, where we teased out family rights. And I was a bit saddened by, in some corners, the significant conservative element that didn't even want to move on to recognising families that aren't based on marriage. And I would imagine somewhere between over 25% of the family of the children in the state are not from families based on marriage. You know the statistics on that, but we can't be frozen in time. We can't hide behind the reality of what I see outside the doors today and inside those of you sitting in front of me. So we have to, in government, we have to recognise where the Constitution is, but we also must move to change it. And even the current wave of activity towards recognising the needs of children in the Constitution hasn't been as much informed by children of GLBT couples as it should be. And I think what you're doing here today will help inform that debate, and I think add another crucial aspect of that discussion. But I do remember during the course of the civil partnership debate, the Minister for Justice outlined advice he had received from the Attorney General at that time, and the Attorney General's advice on the constitutional robustness of the bill has been very clear that providing a formal legal relationship between a civil partner and children of the other civil partner may undermine the constitutional protection given to the family. I have to listen to what the AG says, even if my own view is something different, that we need to move beyond that. And the government and the Oireachtas do have to operate within the confines of the Constitution, even if they strive to change it. I'd also like to note that the Civil Partnership Act is not entirely silent on the issue of children. On the dissolution of a civil partnership, Section 1292L of the Act expressly mandates the court in making financial and property orders to consider the rights of any child to whom either of the civil partners owe an obligation of support. So I think there is a modicum of recognition within the Civil Partnership Act there. And this is an important aspect to protect children's rights to the financial support and care of its parent. And this has to be considered in advance of any financial or property order being made in favour of the civil partner. So it's very real, and it is something that's in there. So I hope, therefore, that the Law Reform Commission report and the debate leading up to the children's rights referendum will afford us an opportunity to address these issues. So enough of the legalities, maybe on to the content of the report that you have contributed to today. I think the report will serve as an important tool in progressing the public debate on the issue of gay and lesbian families and highlighting the status of children within them. I think there's still significant barriers of perception to the role of gay parents, I think. And I was struck by some of the comments made by the participants in the report about this. For example, that as a child, one of the participants relayed the situation where a friend wasn't allowed to come to play with them because their parents were gay. That the non-biological parent could not pick up a child from school when he or she was ill. That when a non-biological gay parent was gravely ill, the children were excluded by the parent's family. And I think you as participants have been very honest and open about your experiences and your families and the difficulties you've had in interactions with the church, with state authorities and in your private lives. I got a strong sense of the very strong family bonds in your comments, and the fact that though the family unit was not the traditional one, it was as strong, as well adjusted and normal, and went through the same trials and stresses as every other family. That's important to get that just very simple emotional story out there. Some participants contrasted the strength of their gay parents' relationships with their friends' heterosexual parents, sometimes dysfunctional relationships. And I think these experiences can be an important part of advancing public debate and breaking down the barriers of perception which hold gay parents, those who see which hold gay parents as somewhat lesser parents or unfit to raise children. And I thought this was really well summed up by one of the participants, who the reaction to an opinion column around the civil partnerships debate arguing against it. Just back in, and I quote, just back in July, some of you may remember the column that Brenda Power wrote, and her main point was, you have to think of the children. The participant says, look, we are the children, and you are the children out there. We're normal, and no matter how many times I as an individual will say, but they've done research into it, we grew up perfectly normal. It doesn't matter a damn thing, because people are completely moved by emotion, not by facts or figures at all. So the more we get people like us out there, the more they realise, well, that person is exactly like the person that I grew up with, and you know, normal. And I think that was very heartfelt. I think it was brave and strong and emotional, and it's really important to get those kind of views out there. And it's important to remember as well that children have a right to be consulted on matters that affect them. And this is acknowledged in the National Children's Strategy. And it's incumbent on those of us in government to take this consultation seriously, to act on what children state are their needs and wishes. And children's views are hugely important, and we must translate your views into action. I think, in conclusion, at a very simple level, we need to provide more for children in Ireland. I've tried to do that within the new Planning Act of making sure that children are consulted. But moving away from the dry language of legislation, children need very simple things. They have very simple requirements. They need security, you need a sense of belonging, you need protection, you need love, and you need legal safeguards. I think the discussion you're having today is all about that. It's all about making your voices heard. And certainly, as a Minister of State, I will bring that message back loud and clear to my colleagues in government, in particular to the Minister for Justice, to make sure that your voices are not heard not just within the confines of a discussion today in Wood Quay, but within the legislation that I am sure we will pass in the years to come. So it gives me great honour to formally launch the report, Voices of Children, and to look forward to the kind of discussion, the kind of changes that we can move on and deliver on in government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, and thank you for your comments. And I suppose, you know, some of the pieces that you picked out of the report, people have spoken them or given us other examples of them this morning. And I'm just wondering, some of the children, the young people who spoke earlier on, if they would like to make a comment directly to the Minister before he has to head off and we have to go into our workshops. Either some of you who spoke this morning or some of you who haven't spoken already. They're kind of gathered for safety over here in the corner. Conor, would you like to address the Minister?
What I'd like to point out, well, it's sort of more of an observation. What marriage equality is, one of the research that they've done is the opinions of people and the public of Ireland, and specifically about their opinions towards... Hello, I hope everyone over there heard me. And specifically about the public's opinions towards same-sex marriage in particular. And it came out quite strongly in favour of same-sex marriage and approving of that. And, so, do you know what the actual figure was in terms of? 81%. 81% of people were saying we don't have a problem with same-sex marriage. I know Fianna Fáil's particular policy is the people don't want this and the people aren't ready for this. And I know I'll admit that I'm a member of the Green Party, and
that's okay.
And one of the reasons is because the Green Party has a commitment to full marriage. But what worries me is that Fianna Fáil aren't actually realising that the people who vote for them do accept same-sex marriage, and I don't think it's valid any longer to say that Ireland isn't ready for it.
Thanks, Conor.
I mean, I don't think anything is cast in stone. I think what you've shown, as in so many other areas of of opinion is that the Oireachtas often lags a long way behind where public opinion is, and you can see that, God knows, through many other strands of our social, economic, environmental development in Ireland. But I think the role of polling and publishing results is crucial. I do remember, I remember this on the Tribune poll, probably the best part of 5 years ago now. That influences decision makers. I think the Coming Out to Your TD campaign that Marriage Equality had also makes a very strong contribution. And I think if you look internationally in the US, which I'd be more familiar with from some of the speakers that have come over the years, talking very directly to your decision makers is crucial, is very important, as is the role of research. And I think that can try and get over let's call it the raw conservatism that is there in certain quarters.
Okay. Can I again thank you, Minister, for coming to launch the report. Look forward to you taking it back to your colleagues, and I think this is the beginning of another set of conversations, and we will be continuing them, and I look forward to that.
Thank you very much.